at 69.50, which I kind of had as a
Hey, good morning, guys. Dave, how are you this morning? You guys let me know if that music's too loud, please. Doing good. I'm doing real good. I had to life stuff happened this morning. The vegetable drawer in our refrigerator apparently had been freezing up because yesterday yesterday somebody broke the drawer. It's got like a lid on it that folds down and seals the drawer when the vegetable drawer is closed. So when you pull the drawer out, the lid lifts up. Well, it broke yesterday. And so I was like, what the heck? Like, how did y'all break the lid for the vegetable drawer? And I got to looking at it this morning and come to find out the whole bottom of the vegetable drawer had like a ½ inch of ice. And so it had frozen all the way from the back to the front, and it's a real wide drawer, so it had lifted up the drawer itself, and so when they pulled it out, the plastic just broke. One of the pins like hold the lid on broke, and so sure enough, like I've never seen. Usually, I've seen freezer, accumulate ice like that, but to see the vegetable drawer do that, I was really shocked. So I was scraping my fridge out this morning, but aside from that, it's Tuesday. Got kind of a. I just see that Trump is speaking at 2, which is convenient because we're in this kind of congestion area here on a higher time frame, right? That left chart is an hourly chart, so it will be interesting. I'm going to trade the tactical chart on a little bit higher time frame, like on a 5 minute this morning, because I want to kind of highlight the areas on Delta, um, especially like RTH high, RTH low, and then Delta neutral. And then I want to focus a little bit more on these, I just call them the K levels, the 1K, 2K, 3K, 5K levels on the chart, and how price reacts when delta gets to those levels. So right now it has crisscrossed this session VWAP, which is right here. Kind of crisscrossed it. You can see on the left side we're stuck in between this previous month's VWAP and like the previous quarter's VWAP. So obviously I think Trump is going to push it one way or the other this afternoon, but maybe we can catch something clear this morning. Again, these days can be tough because you've got so many different, kinds of variables. I'm going to mark out a few swing points here that are on this higher time frame chart just so we can kind of keep track of where we're at. I call this my outer space chart over here on the left. So somebody was asking about, it was Charles was asking about London highs, lows. We'll mark those out today. And then obviously we've got this one down here. I did take one other trade yesterday after off stream, and we got the account up to 2,400. I think that's where it's at right now. So we'll see what we get this morning. Right now, deltas are positive on the session. And ticks are positive. But we'll get this account funded and get some payouts on it. I do really like these previous days VWAPs. These are powerful levels that I really like to look at, and it's hard to see them when you're looking at like a 30-second chart. So I kind of wanted to share these with you guys and focus more on these larger levels in delta. So I can already see this morning that there is some absorption. It doesn't mean that we need to go short. And what that is basically is if I'm looking at this swing high and matching it with the swing high in the delta, and then this swing high in price and matching it with the swing highs on the delta here, that we've got a divergence. So anytime that there is a divergence like this, there's aggressive buying, but price is failing to match that. So somebody is using limit orders to absorb this aggressive buying, and that's why there's this divergence in price. Again, that doesn't mean that we just automatically start shorting. Right now, these are not A+ setups for me. Charles asked about that yesterday. Definitely not A+ setups. There's just not been enough directional movement, right, for me to say that this is an A+ setup. Something like what we have over here on the higher time frame chart. These are much clearer order flow reads for me. So I'm just noticing a divergence, but I'm not going to just short that out of the open because there's absorption on the sell side, right? We're just going to kind of try to go with the order flow this morning. Oops. I do not want epic pen up. If I had to guess, I would say that we're going to go higher overall, but I try not to speculate like that. It's a little more volume profile this morning too. Some folks were asking about that yesterday. I love these fixed range volume profiles. I use them quite a bit, really, especially on the higher time frame chart. Um, so we'll see what kind of order flow we get out of the gate here. A simple trade that you guys can look for is this kind of, again, the blue is the cumulative volume delta, the red is the cumulative trades delta, but pullbacks where you get this kind of nice alignment where trades deltas hitting neutral or close to neutral. That's a pretty hard sell-off at London. I think the Europeans are mad at us, so that's all right. But again, we're just trading micros this morning. Appreciate you guys being here. Hope everybody's having a great day, great week. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see this higher time frame chart. Hey, Ben. Yes. Yep. I really like those K level bounces. If you just want to, I mean, look, I'll just tell you guys straight up that I've pulled stats for the last year, and I know that the distribution for most days, when I say most days, it's 70% or more, most days are going to fall at like positive 4K or negative 4K. So this right here is your normal distribution for your delta ranges. 4K positive or 4K negative. What happens when it gets to 4K positive or 4K negative? Well, the further that it goes, which for the thing that I like about NQ is the order book is not nearly as thick as it is on the ES. So it's just easier for me to get an order flow read when there's not as much. There's still obviously a high amount of volume, but it's not so flooded. And so those algorithms that are trading this, automatically, they're entering and exiting their positions. They're resetting kind of their anchor point at the open, right? And then resetting their positions from that, or rebalancing, I guess. And so once you get past 4K or 5K, it's a good indication that that there will be a snappy retracement. Okay. I kind of feel like I'm gonna just put on one micro right here. We'll see if this holds. Okay. This is the previous day's VWAP right here. Our delta is positive right now on the day, on the session. So let's just see if they want to continue to take it higher. Again, we're just 1 micro. And again, this is a 5-minute chart this morning. So as you get further and further away, like negative 5K, negative 6K, negative 7K, you are much more likely to get that reversal that we want, right? But the thing is that you've got to really pay attention to the time, because there's been lots of times where I've gotten down to like negative 5K, negative 7K on the delta. Things are starting to look like they're going to reverse. It's looking really good. And then it's like, I realize it's 3:15 in the afternoon. And so what will happen in that case is that it'll get choppy. And so it's best on days when you can see a strong push one way or the other out of the gate, and then try to catch that reversal earlier in the day. So the timing of it is important. Like, I don't pay any attention to, kill zones or anything like that. I'm just, again, always evaluating how much time do I have left in the session. So we're basically, I'll zoom in a little bit here for you guys. This thing is going to reset at the open. My delta chart is going to reset at the open, and we'll try to see which direction they want to push it. Right now, we are, again, still in this. Yeah, you're welcome. Where's my rectangle? All four. I forgot my rectangle tool is broken. I don't know what's going on with it, but when I try to draw a rectangle, it just draws a line. So, gosh, can I not even drag this thing? Anyway, you guys can see we're locked up in this bundle right here of VWAPs. So if we can start breaking out, then I think we might run a bit. But let's see what they give us. We're gonna be watching the tick, Nasdaq tick, New York Stock Exchange or NYSE tick on a 30-second chart. And then we just have a 5-minute over here today. Keep things simple for you guys. And again, this is our volume delta, our trades delta. So right now things are positive. Institutions are buying. Again, let me know if you guys have any questions. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to pull a volume profile for this real quick. I got to work on the one on the right. I'm not real happy with how it's working, so. Again, just 1 micro. That's it. Taking my time on this. Okay, so you guys can see the delta's reset. Ticks made a quick pop negative. Again, I don't really pay too much attention to these guys until things kind of settle in for a little bit. All right, so we're getting the looks like a positive push. Volume delta, I'm going to zoom in. Again, I know I'm on a widescreen, so I apologize. Maybe I can. So we just kind of swept that. We just nicked the overnight high there. But everything is still positive right here out of the gate. Kind of wanted to add there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait. This is where it's nice to have, again, this is why I like to use that 5-second chart too, right? It's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on right here without that detailed view. But let's just see if we can make heads or tails of it. Just keeping it on the 5-minute. And then maybe tomorrow I'll pull up like a 30-second chart and have it over here somewhere for you guys. I guess I could probably make some more room on the left side over here. So it looks like our trades delta is sinking. Let's do this. I'm going to make things a little bit. This might look a little bit funky, but I want to get some detail. Yeah, you can see now how there's quite a bit of selling pressure on the deltas. So I'm going to duplicate this chart. You guys just bear with me while I duplicate it, and then we're going to get zoomed in on these deltas. Again, I really just want to look at so bear with me, please. We're going to do like a 5-second chart, and I'm just going to go, we're just going to go 3 days. That way it loads quickly. Okay. And then I'm actually just going to kind of get rid of the price portion of it altogether. Again, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Maybe I'll put it on this side. So this is kind of our delta, right? You can see how, again, this section right here, you can see how since the open, right, there's been aggressive selling. Tick is not super strong yet, but it looks like it might be kind of making a base here. New York Stock Exchange ticks. Look at that delta drop off there. Maybe it'll end up just being kind of a little bit of a rangy day until if we put this, I'm going to show you guys something here real quick. I'm going to reset this one. I bet you that we're coming back to session delta neutral. So I'll show you guys something here. So I'm changing this so that they reset at the start of the trading day, but not at both session times. Okay, so now, now you can see, so this delta right here reset at the session open. Okay, so this is just a delta chart with no price on it whatsoever. This 5-minute chart has the overall session delta on it. All right, so this is the chart that we're trading off of this morning, but we want to watch the relationship between what price is doing and where these deltas are at. All right. So that's our volume profile. Probably, I'm feeling like there's going to be some selling here, and it's probably going to drop because you can see since the open, there's really been nothing but selling. Aggressive selling. Again, I've got a new headset, so you guys let me know if you guys can hear me okay. If it's too loud, too soft, I can adjust it in OBS, please. Still holding this 1 micro long, feeling less confident about it the more that I see this delta drop. Good, thank you. Anytime as well, something of note, this is just something that I've picked up on, is that when your trades delta is below your volume delta, it's those trades are really hammering it, and it'll tug it down a lot of times. Like if we look at the reversal from yesterday, I call it a reversal, but yesterday was not like. You can see how our trades delta is above our volume delta, and it's kind of lifting it up. But as soon as that trades delta really gets below it, it wants to pull price down with it, and that's just because those trades. I treat the trades delta as if it is. I'm gonna erase that. I treat the trades delta as if it's just like, I see it as kind of like limit order buying and selling. That's just like a backyard cheap way for me to kind of evaluate limit order buying. So they wicked the overnight high, and it's just been quite a bit of selling since then. So let's see what happens as we get down here to this negative 1K level. If the trades delta here starts to twist above, you can see how they're kind of converging against each other a little bit. Again, that's just absorption taking place. Doesn't mean that it's time to reverse yet, but might be easier. Wonder how this would look as a line. I don't want to change it right now, but maybe tomorrow I'll have these as a line chart. I just like using the open, high, lows, close bars because they're just easy for me to read. They're nice and clean. The lows, the highs and lows are nice and clean. Okay, so we've got a put. Okay, so look what happened right there. We've got, again, the trades starting to cross over a little bit. I hope you guys can see this on your end. We've got, this is session low down here. So trades delta is hitting session low, and volume delta is hitting this 1K level. And RTH wise, we're negative. But let's see if we can watch this interaction here between these guys. I kind of feel like adding, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Because the tick is still, tick is positive. Not super positive, but it's positive. See how the delta is flattening out? I'm going to add, just maybe go to like half a contract here. So you notice I'm watching price, but for me it's really more about the order book. If these start to really tank from here, then I might get out. Push down. Again, this is, I guess I should label these for you guys. This is session or RTH. Volume delta, trades delta. Okay, so we're in the money on this now. I'm going to take some profit. Well, we're up $84. I like it that it pulled back to this previous day's VWAP. So this is yesterday's session VWAP right here. Kind of pulled back to that. I will be surprised if it really breaks out one way or the other. Oh, we got PMI. I forgot about that. Just a yellow folder. So we'll hold this. I'll take one more micro off. I like that that the delta, so this is what I was telling you guys. So if we look at the way down, right, because price or the delta was, you know, it price rallied, we tapped into that you know, overnight high, but everything was our trades delta was lower, and now the trades delta's flipped, right? So now we're back at trades delta's flipped. Of course, now they're flipping again, but this RTH delta neutral, this is a very important level right here. If the delta breaks this and it wants to, then it's going to want to run. That's what it looks like right now. I'm not saying that that's what it looks like it wants to run. I'm just saying that this is what our delta chart, our RTH delta chart looks like. I do think it's noteworthy that our RTH delta low is right here. So it pushed down out of the gate, but not that deep and not that strong. So we're still holding this. So it didn't push down that strongly. So that tells me that the sellers, these aggressive sellers that were here on this push down since the RTH open didn't have that much conviction, right? They kind of quit. They quit on the job. And so now we're getting this push higher. Let's see if it'll sweep this high from, let's see, when was that from? From Monday. So this is Monday's high that it's coming up to right here. Oops. Ticks are holding. So I always mark out these levels. This is RTH CVD low. These are important levels because if these levels if the delta comes back down to these levels, then it literally means that those positions have been liquidated, right? At least the market order positions. And so these are areas that I really pay attention to. So this is RTH cumulative trades delta below. Now our trades delta has not flipped positive yet. Okay, so our volume delta, which is here in the blue, is positive, but our trades delta hasn't flipped positive yet. We want to see alignment between these guys, right? So I kind of want to close this position just because I lock in this profit. If I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, again, with 1 micro, we're up almost $200 on 1 micro. Again, guys, you don't need a bunch of size. I'm going to close it. And that puts me at $256. Again, not a ton of money, but is it life-changing money if you can do it every day? Yes, absolutely it is. It's absolutely life-changing money, especially if you're doing it across multiple accounts. So, all right, so we exited that. I'm just going to cut this here. And yeah, I mean, my personal account made a little more, so I'm happy with that. Charles asked about A+ setups yesterday. Was this an A+ setup? No, absolutely not. Not an A+ setup for me in the sense that not super clean, not a real clean push up or down. And again, think about how many people, okay, so I'm going to talk about this little leg down right here. This leg down in price from London. Think about how many people were shorting, right, this fair value gap. And yeah, you got a little play out of it. But when you can read the order flow and you can see, hey, our order flow is positive, right? Order flow is positive. Why would you want to be shorting back into a previous day's VWAP on positive order flow? And so what happens? They get wiped out. That's the problem, I think, with like true retail trading concepts, is that when you don't understand, you don't have any kind of context on what's going on behind the candles, then you're just limited to what you see on the candles. And the candles, they really are an advertisement, right? There's so much manipulation, and sometimes it works. Sure, you can make money just trading, swing highs and swing lows, waiting for breaks of, sweeps of these higher time frame highs and lows. However, there's lots of times, guys, where, again, I'm talking over here on this higher time frame chart now, where it will, it'll sweep it. You might get a little bit of a, pullback, but then it just rips again. And it's because, yeah, this hourly or 4 hour high or low got swept, but the order flow didn't change. There was no shift in the order flow. And so it just kept going higher, regardless of what the candles look like or what they're, you know, telling you. That's why I've always got my market internals up, right? Which are these guys. What's the overall market doing? Well, the overall market, the Nasdaq's making new highs. That's nice to know. ES is making a new high, but it's not quite as strong, right? And then you've got your kind of session order flow, which is, hey, where are we at, right? Where are we at in outer space on this order flow chart? And then this RTH chart. I kind of like this setup. This is good. This lets me kind of explain everything to you guys. I'm going to hang around here for a little bit longer, and we'll see what else we get. So remember what I said about, look at what our volume delta is at. I've got it right here so you guys can see it, right? We're hitting that 4K volume delta level. We're starting to get toward the edge of the edge of the distribution as far as what is normal for a day. Okay, so we're already hitting that on the high side. That's a good thing if you're trying to get long, but you also have to consider that, hey, when we start getting past 4K, 5K, 7K, especially if you get closer to 10K, then there's only so much buying that's going to go into the market. So see what the reaction is here. So our trades delta still is not convincing me that it's wanting to go higher. You can see how now this is passive selling that's coming in. If this thing really breaks higher, positive, then I think it's safe to absolutely start taking longs again. But I'm not. I don't know that I'll trade anymore on this eval account. The goal is to get it to 20K, and I'm not trying to do it all in one day. So if we get some kind of a nice pullback or some other nice setup, then we'll get back in. But it seems a little late right now for me to start to try to chase it. I didn't really get super sized up on it. And that's okay. Not every trade has to be again, a $2,500 trade or a $5,000 trade. Yeah, there's some times that you can get some really nice setups like that, and they're super clean and you just have a ton of conviction. But with Trump, if he was not speaking at 2 o'clock, then I would feel maybe more inclined to stick around for longer. But with him speaking at 2, I'm kind of like, do I really want to sit here for the next 4 hours waiting for him to get here? And honestly, I don't really want to. So pay attention to this area up here around 25,900. I would not be surprised with him speaking if it goes up there today. There is a previous day's VWAP smack in the middle of that thing. Basically at like 880-ish. But you got a big high volume node up there. If it breaks above this kind of volume ledge, which corresponds basically with these highs, right? We've got this low volume node cup in here. It once it breaks through there, I feel like it'll probably carry through that. Might hit some resistance here, but so the ES did not put in a fresh high. Looking at the ticks. I've got these set to 30 seconds today. Right here. Both of them are diverging a little bit from price. If NQ or Nasdaq breaks this area and ES continues to kind of break this area, then I think that we're probably done for the time being. But again, with Trump speaking at 2, I don't get wrapped up in, oh, I should have held it or anything like that. All we can do each day is just trade our best, right? Just trade our best. So I've pulled stats for session delta highs and lows. I need to circle back and pull stats for RTH highs and lows. I haven't done that yet, but the stats for the session, they're helpful to me, because again, I think about those algorithms, you know, recalibrating at the open, and I just know, like, once we start getting past 4K, things start getting long in the tooth. So we're at 4,600. Now again, I'm not saying short, right? That's, please understand that. I'm not telling you to short. Do not short anything until you start seeing. Don't short or long until you see divergences between 3 things: price, volume delta, and market internals. Like, that's how you see the tops and the bottoms. It's the divergences between your order flow here corresponding with some kind of, you know, K level, right? Or delta neutral, and the market internal stuff. You'll see the divergences. It's just a matter of waiting patiently and making sure that you've got enough time. If you're not looking for that stuff and you're only looking at levels and price, you're just kind of guessing. So we don't want to guess. Now here's what I do like about this, is that we're getting such a strong push in the order flow, and look, it looks like trades is finally going to catch up with volume delta. Yep. So now they're more or less in alignment with each other. The trades delta is below our volume delta, so there is absorption, sell side absorption, but they're both at least making new highs in unison with each other. So the order flow is still very much going up, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. And then also, if you look at our tick, right, our Nasdaq tick, it's going up. S&P is not quite as strong. It's looking like it's a little laggard this morning, but I would not be surprised if these continue to push up to these highs. Does that mean I'm going to get long right now? No, I'm not going to get long. Okay, so we just hit 5K on volume delta. Can you see how stretched out, how much space there is between the volume delta and the trades delta right here on the session? I guess you can see it here on the RTH side too. What I was going to say though is that with this much positive buying, you have to know that you're going to be able to catch a nice pullback at some point. So let's see if we can maybe do that. I'll stick around and maybe we'll catch a pullback here. What would that mean? Well, it would be a pullback to right now our trades delta back to delta neutral in correspondence with our volume delta pulling back to one of these kind of session levels. Again, I'm trying to kind of give you guys a higher time frame perspective this morning using this 5-minute chart and not being so zoomed in on price. Because ultimately it does come down to buying low and selling high. And I think a lot of times it's easy to lose sight of where you are with price if you're too zoomed in on it. I think that this is good, having this kind of lower time frame order flow. And again, it's just, I call this the order flow stream. Sometimes I'll put on the uptick, downtick delta on here, which I'll usually have in white. But I kind of call this the order flow stream. It's just a lot easier for me to look at, right, than have a bunch of footprint charts. Okay. So that's just me. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people say, you know, Spec, you're simplifying it too much. You got to have the footprints up there. Well, I've only got so much screen space, so. That's a good question. I primarily will look at delta. If I'm in a long trade, and so it's a confluence of things. It's because the price to me can be, you know, it gets jerked around a lot, right? It gets jerked around a lot. So I'm primarily looking at these 4 charts, or I guess 3 in the middle, which is the tick, Nasdaq tick, New York Stock Exchange tick, NYSE tick, and then the RTH order flow. When I see a shift in the order flow, which right now there's not really, well, there's a hidden divergence here, but I don't want to really get wrapped around the axle. But for the most part, they're kind of in alignment with each other. But you can see where our trades is putting in a lower low. So there is some absorption that's taking place. But it's really a shift in this order flow and a shift in the market internals that tell me I need to get out of the trade. Are there times that I'll DCA into a trade? Yeah, absolutely there are. But again, that's why I like using micros is because they just give you a tremendous amount of flexibility. And for me, when I'm trading the order flow, I've got to give price, I've got to give it room to breathe. Right now, do I want to do I want a long right here? No, I don't want a long right here because um, we're just too extended, right? To me, I just know how price moves. I want to be buying low and I want to be selling high. Now, if like earlier when we bought down here, if okay, so let's kind of really dig in on Dave's question here because I think that I'm looking at the RTH delta chart. So we basically got long when the order flow was kind of flattening out. So if I think you guys have, again, this is how I look at it, right? So if I go in right here with 1 micro, let me do my text tool. I haven't used it in a while. Stationary text, Control J. Gosh, that's really tiny. Okay, we're gonna do it like this. So if I go in right here with 1 micro and I'm trying to get long, okay? Because I wouldn't want to short this, right, when it's bottoming at this 1K level. But let's say that I buy right here with 1 micro, and then price continues to fall, and then these things continue to extend lower down to this 2K level. Meaning that they're, like you're watching them and they're starting to they're making lower lows, making lower lows, making lower lows, and they're kind of trickling down. Your choice at that point is to, close this initial position. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but close this initial position and then try it again down here at this 2K level, right? So maybe if you went in with 1 micro here, you could do some kind of, martingale strategy where now, again, you've got to wait until the delta hits that level and watch price, right? You can watch price put in some volume, right? Like right now, we're putting in we're putting in volume up here. You can see it. I can't draw an arrow over there, but you can see the volume come in. So that tells me, hey, it's probably safe to short right here, and I can put a stop above that. Or I know that price, if price breaks above this little swing high, then I'm wrong. But you could absolutely try 1 micro here. If your order flow continues to sell off, then just close it and maybe try 2 micros here. And if for whatever reason again, you've got to kind of wait for the confluence of things, the divergence, what are the internals telling you? But if this one didn't work, and it kept selling off, you could kind of do the same thing again. You got to be careful if you're trying to DCA all the way down through this, because depending on your account size, you might get wrecked, right? So now, the other thing is that if you get this push lower and you tried to long right here and it didn't work, you can wait for a retracement, right, to short it. And again, it just kind of depends on where you're at in the chart and all of that. But I primarily look at the order flow. If the order flow starts to shift, then I need to get out of the trade. You can see how, like I was telling you, so look at our trades delta now. Our trades delta, what did it do? It dropped below neutral. right? So what does that mean? That means that there's more selling trades hitting the book right now than there are buy trades. That's good to know. Does it mean that it's going to completely sell off from here and reverse and all that? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that again, I read this as kind of, the people or the passive sellers are being more aggressive in that they're refreshing their sell orders, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope I answered your question. Dave, you need to know, man, that I'm an extrovert. And once I start talking about something, I won't shut up about it. So if you guys ask me a question, I'm explaining it to you, and it's not making sense, I'm very likely failing to answer it correctly. So just please be patient and ask it again. Yeah. I look at the order flow and I give myself, plenty of room risk-wise. Let's see if maybe we can rejoin this. Something else that you guys can do too, and I'll talk more about this probably another day, but you can also just use your volume delta as kind of support and resistance as well. What do I mean by that? Well, literally, again, if you think about, so our session opened right here. There were sellers. They failed to take price lower. Buyers took control basically right here, right? Buyers kind of took control, at least aggressive buyers did. And yeah, you've got a little sell-off right here, but one of the simple things that you can do is just kind of use these swing highs and lows for support and resistance. I like to tie them into a K level. So right here, we still have aggressive buying. That's a good thing, right? They're still buying aggressively. And so you can kind of use your volume delta and your trades delta as kind of support and resistance. Because, look, if you look at, again, if you're looking at a 5-minute chart, let's zoom in on the 5-minute. So this is what I love about order flow, what I'm about to show you guys. So if you are if you're an ICT trader and you just showed up to your computer because you had to take your wife to work or your kids to the dentist or whatever, like how do you join this trend? Well, there's a fair value gap, I guess. Like, again, apologize, my rectangle tool's not working. There's like a fair value gap there. There's another little one there. So for me, I look at the order flow, right? What's the order flow telling me? If there's still aggressive buying, then you probably want to be a buyer because the trend is up. Yeah, there was some selling this morning, but the trend was up. And then you can tie in other tools like your volume profile and stuff, right? So it just makes it makes it a lot easier for me when I focus on the order flow tools. And I appreciate you guys being here. We had 10 people watch yesterday and 3 likes. So come on, y'all. Like, pay your dues. Hit the thumbs up for me. That'll be a big help. Let's draw a volume profile and see if we can maybe get enough of a sell-off here I'm just going to erase these. These levels to me are really kind of irrelevant. Overnight high, overnight low at this point. Let's see if we can maybe get enough of a sell-off to rejoin this. Again, this chart on the right is a 5-minute chart. Thought I would try to keep things on a little bit of a higher perspective as far as price. It's a great question, though. One of the other things that I like to look for that I do not have right now on here is just the session point of control. I think the session point of control is important. You can see how there's some volume that was kind of built out right here, but a lot of times price will not reverse until that session point of control shifts up, like in this case, because we're going higher. Well, I appreciate it, man. I really do. Guys, I'm learning too. Like I don't claim to have everything figured out. I do not. I don't. I just needed something that made sense because what would happen when I just traded price is that I would just get kind of wrecked, right? Kind of wrecked. And I feel like when you're just looking at just candles alone and you don't understand what's going on in the market, like the underlying market, like with the ticks and the order flow, just helps it helps me make sense of all of it, right? And that's really what everybody's different. Can you be profitable with price? Absolutely. Like your risk management is so much more important than your than your entry to me. Um, so I had to find something that was easy for me to kind of track. Um, I'm a very visual person. Um, and when I was, growing up, I was basically an only kid, so played a lot of video games in my past. When I first got into the army, I was a gunner on an M1 Abrams tank, which again, it was very not initially. Initially, I was like a loader, and then I became a driver, and then I was a gunner on a tank before I went into special forces. I did like 2.5 years in the regular army, and I excelled at the visual stuff, right? Looking through the gunnery, the scope and the sights, and lasing targets and shooting targets on the tank. It just again was very visual. It was very appealing to me like that, and I loved it. And so trading for me is kind of a lot like playing a video game, right? I'm looking for subtle shifts, subtle changes, um, and I just try to keep it visual. So I appreciate the statistics and the numbers, and I talked with you guys earlier about distributions within the volume or within the order flow, right? And the stats that I've developed for those. But when it comes to looking at a footprint chart, like it just makes me want to kind of throw up in my own mouth, right? Like it's not that much fun for me. Whereas this is fun. It's chill, right? It's chill. This is the most people we've ever had watching, so I appreciate you guys. Let me know too in the comments if you guys like this setup. I know it's a widescreen chart. I know it's hard to see all of it. I wish YouTube had a better way for me to do it. But the last few weeks, so I started streaming like back in December and working through all of that, and I was really just showing the chart on the left. And I felt like that a lot of kind of context was missing, and so it's just tough to show your kind of the entire way that you trade all in one screen. I feel like. So right now, this is what you're seeing is what I'm seeing. I've got a laptop screen right now that I've got, chat on, but that's it, right? I have to keep things simple on my end too because I'm a dad with 4 kids. Like the room that I'm using right now was my kids' homeschool room, and I kicked them out of it so that way Daddy could have an office, right? Because we're a middle class family, right? We don't have like a 6 bedroom house that I can have my own little private suite and all of that. So I'm kind of waiting to see if you notice where did we start? Again, I'm going to say we started to sell. We're not really selling hard yet, but I want to point this out to you guys. This right here is 5K level, right? So those algorithms that recalibrated at the open, again, this is session over here, but starting to get some little bit of selling. Is it enough to play? No, I don't think so. I don't know that I like the idea of just shorting it blindly to short it when you've got these highs from yesterday here and Trump speaking at 2 o'clock. So yes, yeah, for sure. Um, pretty much each day, and I really want to. You know what? Maybe I'll do something. I'm gonna do something a little special here for you guys. Just give me a second. I'm gonna open up since we're kind of in a lull in the action here, for me at least. I'm not gonna short it, and I've already taken my longs, but I'm going to open up uh, Trading View because I love Sierra Chart. It's like the most amazing software platform out there for us, but it can be difficult to just quickly show things, right? So especially when you're changing symbols, whereas TradingView is not like that. So I want to show you guys kind of the basis of my trading since Trump is coming on in a little while, a couple of hours, but again, I'm not super keen on taking a bunch of trades right now. But I'm going to kind of walk you guys um, through Nee's question here. So great question. But I'm going to switch the stream. So just a second, let me change it in OBS. I'm going to show you guys my whole. Let's see. Let's see if I can do a window capture for TradingView here. It's a great question, and I was just talking with my wife about this. So, okay. All right. Can you guys see TradingView? Oops. Okay. Cool. So okay. So probably 3 years ago, I went through Merritt Black's Nadro course. And I know that you guys have heard of him. He's, you know, a fairly famous SMB trader. And he has started Apteros Trading where he's, coaching people. Again, let me know if the music's too loud and you can't hear me. Because I'm not on Sierra Chart at all right now. I'm just looking at TradingView. Okay, cool. So here's the thing that I took away from Merritt's course. Now he trades differently than I do for sure, but prior to taking the Nadro course, I was only looking at session VWAP and RTH VWAP. That was it. Because again, when you're learning to trade, right, you start off with price action and you go to indicators and then you learn about VWAP and then you learn about profiling and market profile and volume profile and order flow and footprints and all this stuff, right? And then, JEX levels and everything. But I was using session VWAP, RTH VWAP. And yeah, everybody says, like, again, how many thousands of YouTube videos say, hey, when price pulls back to VWAP, you should be buying it. Well, yeah, just buy RTH VWAP, buy session VWAP. If you guys are like me, you've probably done that and back tested that. And is there some edge in it? Yeah, perhaps with really tight or good risk management. But when I took the Nadro course, I discovered the world of like historical or what I call long range VWAPs. I'm an Army Spec Ops guy, so I like thinking of them as long range, right? Long range shooting targets. And when it comes to trading, it really does boil down to buying low and selling high. So there's the VWAPs really help me with that. And again, we're looking at this NQ chart here, but I'll just run you guys through this. And again, I apologize. If you're trying to trade right now, I apologize. Tune me out. But I'm not going to take really any more trades until Trump speaks. But in a nutshell, right? Like, how do we know when we're high and when we're low? Like, again, retail trading tells you, hey, you could pull a fib, and again, this is a weekly leg up, and I'm gonna get into the VWAPs here. But I want to talk about this kind of higher time frame first. So, people will pull a fib from this low to this high, and they'll look for this 50% retracement zone. And yeah, you know what? That does work sometimes. We can see, I think if you're listening to me right now, you can see that this is probably not a great time, right, to be buying the market, right? NQ, ES, SPX, SPY. Why? Because there's no value, right? If we're trying to buy low and sell it high, we're not in a good spot to be a buyer. Now, is it going to pop up again? Maybe. But if you're a long-term investor, do you really want to be buying up here in the upper part of this box? And I'm going to say a premium and a discounted zone. No, you don't want to be. You don't want to be a buyer right now. We want to be a buyer back down here. So you can look at it like this, and hey, this works, right? We want to be buying back down here in the lower part of this range. But I think for me, there's a simpler way. And for me, this is where the VWAPs come into play. So when you go through the Nadro course, he uses higher time frame rolling VWAPs. And I have my Nadro chart book. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick for you guys. So I'm going to maybe go back to Sierra chart here. Just give me a second. I'm going to see if I can pull. Okay, yeah, I've got Nadro. I got my old Nadro chart book right here. So I'm going to pull this up. It may need to, it's got to roll over. Forget it. I'm not going to do it. But basically I'll pull this up for you guys at some point, but it's not going to be right now. So what Garrett's looking at, what Merritt is looking at is longer range VWAPs, but they're rolling VWAPs. They're rolling VWAPs. And for me, it was just too much information on my chart. I wanted a simpler way to look at it because he would have like a yearly, a quarterly, a monthly, a weekly, a daily chart on the left side of his screen. So you had like 6 different little charts on your screen, and they were all different VWAPs, right? And it was just too busy for me. So I went on to TradingView Again, I love TradingView for just general, hey, pie in the sky, where are we at charting? And so I found this indicator by this guy named Yada. Let's see if I can find it for you guys on here. It's VWAP and previous VWAP multi-time frame. This guy doesn't have hardly any downloads, but and what I did was I took off, so let me turn this on. But I took off all of the rolling VWAPs and I started to look at just the previous VWAPs. So we're looking at a weekly chart right now. So I'm going to turn off the dailies, turn off the weekly, I'm going to turn off the monthly, and I just want to look at the quarterly VWAPs. So here's what's fascinating, right? So now the only thing that's showing, again, this is NQ. The only thing that's showing is the yearly VWAPs, which are in blue, and the quarter, these are, okay, so I should clarify. It's previous VWAP closes. So I'll turn back on the rolling for these so you guys can see them. So this is 2022. We'll zoom in here. So from here to here is 2023. So this is like the rolling VWAP for 2023. And then when that time period closes, it extends that VWAP forward. Okay, it extends the VWAP forward. This right here, this green line is the 2023. These are quarterly VWAPs. So when it closes, it extends that line forward. And when I started playing around with these, and again, just back testing them, what I realized was I was like, man, there are some killer risk to reward trades and bounces at these long range VWAP closes. This is a quarterly VWAP. This is I took a righteous trade from here. I remember this Friday. Why was I so adamant about buying it when everybody else was freaking out about selling it? Because there's a quarterly VWAP right here, a previous quarter's VWAP close. So the way that I look at it is, and from the research that I've done on it, is that we know that the institutions are using algorithms. They have to. They cannot keep up with billions of dollars, trillions of dollars across global financial markets, futures markets, equities, by doing it manually, right? Like we kid ourselves into thinking that there's some institutional hedge funds. Now, don't get me wrong, there are guys like SMB Capital and prop firms and things like that that are using these kinds of hand-drawn tools, right? But there's not some guy at JP Morgan that's saying, hey guys, hey, look, we're back down to this point of control. I think it's time for us to buy. Like, they're not doing that. And I think that you're kidding yourself if you think that they're using profiling the way that we use it as retail traders. Is there edge in profiling? Yes, I think that there absolutely is. But like, again, these big banks and hedge funds, they're not going, oh, well, we're back inside of value, so we're going to wait till it hits the volume high or value low. Are you? Well, then let me know, man. If I'm wrong, then you let me know. But I think, again, in my mind, and just from what I've looked at, okay, hey, you're way cooler than any trader. I'll tell you that right now. And you're probably much smarter than any of those guys that are there. But, and I hope that you're at work right now, because that would be cool that you're listening to me. But the algorithms are using these VWAPs because their job is to buy low and to sell high. So, you know, I do think that there is some anchoring of VWAPs. So I just dropped an anchored VWAP right there, right? I do believe that they, especially again, when you guys have to get smart about this stuff because there's always going to be a major news catalyst at one of these, major inflection points or swing points in the market. So, if FOMC happened right here on this, wet Tuesday, so Tuesday, yeah, it might have been FOMC. Um, anchor a VWAP there, right? Kind of a higher time frame, longer range VWAP. So I started to pay attention to these long range VWAPs. And what I realized is that when price falls sharply back down toward them, oftentimes you will see a nice bounce, all right? A reversal. And guess what's going to go along with it? A shift in your order flow and a shift in your market internals because they begin to accumulate positions. The timing of it sometimes is tricky. This trade right here that I took on this Friday back in November, it worked out perfectly because it was basically smack in the middle of the day. They dropped it back down. They sold it off really hard. I remember this was like people were absolutely losing their minds on this drop. Like, oh, the market's reversing. Well, let's got to get through this first. So look at what we have below us right now. It's just starting to form, but we have this quarterly VWAP from the third quarter, third quarter of 2025. And below it, right here, we have a yearly VWAP right now. So before things, and then below that, we've got a couple of other quarterly VWAPs. Let me show you guys what happened during COVID. All right, so let's go back. Let's go back to weekly, and then let's take a look at, this is when I was like, wow, okay, I need to pay attention to this. So again, blue lines are yearly VWAPs, green lines are quarterly VWAP closes. I don't remember what the news event was that triggered this sell-off. This was before COVID. But where did it sell off to? Again, you being like a swing trader, or I know that most of us are intraday traders here, but it sells off. Again, these are weekly candles. Sells off. Where does it go to? It goes to a yearly VWAP. Rallies up out of the hole, comes back, retests, quarterly VWAP. This is COVID right here. So COVID, tremendous amount of selling, obviously, but it went below the 2019 yearly VWAP right here, went down to the 2018 yearly VWAP, and then they accumulated a massive position, right? This is like one of the greatest exchanges of wealth in American history, right? World history. This is a rolling VWAP. So this is the only, well, I've got the other ones on there, but this is the rolling VWAP. Let's take a look at this. Keep going. So this up here, this is when the whole, this is when we withdrew from Afghanistan, and it was an absolute mess, right? It was really a mess. My old squadron commander was the commander for the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and he just told me that it was an absolute mess because of politicians. I'm not going to get into that political rant, but I'm an Army guy, and we generally do not like politicians because they never let us do our jobs. So, Afghanistan withdrawal, it's a complete debacle, sells off. We do catch a little bit of a bounce here. And again, I like to kind of stack these things up. Again, we're looking at a weekly chart, but you've got a quarterly VWAP here, kind of a rolling VWAP, right? This is an area where you're going to want to be a buyer at. This is a yearly VWAP from 2020. So this is kind of like, I don't know, this was the worst part of Joe Biden's presidency, this area right here. I remember people saying, I have a friend of mine who's he's French, and he's an intraday trader. But I remember we were like right along in here, and he's like, you know, the Americans are terrible, your economy's failing, and you guys, you know, like we're gonna go. He was talking that we're gonna go back down to COVID levels, and just all of this naysaying stuff. And I told him, I was like, we're not going back to COVID until we break below this yearly VWAP. Like we're just not going to. That's awesome. I appreciate it, Nee. Um, Man, that means a lot to me. God bless you, brother, for listening to me this morning. But you know, I told him, I was like, we're not gonna go back down to COVID levels until this yearly VWAP gets broken with some confidence, right? And then again, they being banks, hedge funds, institutions, right? Accumulated a massive position. They spent so much time here. They didn't spend that much time here. They spent a few weeks here. And what's crazy is that while all of us were suffering, right? Think about how bad things got for all of us during this time. They were making money hand over fist. Here we have, this is the tariffs, right? People saying, you know, the market's falling, market's collapsing. And yeah, there for a few weeks, it did fall pretty hard. But where did it fall down to? It fell back down toward this area here, which is a quarterly VWAP, a yearly VWAP, rolling VWAP. What did they do? They bought it. Look how strong it rallied up out of here. Okay, so back to the original question about my charts. So I start my charts each day looking at these VWAPs. Now I'm going to turn a few more of these on, and I'm going to give you a couple of other little. I'm going to turn off the rolling ones because they can be a bit much. So I put the monthlies on. All right, and I want to show you guys something neat too, because they work for every instrument, right? They really do. So we already talked about this quarterly VWAP bounce. We got monthlies here. Let's look at some other charts, and let's look at gold. Gold might be a tricky one. I haven't looked at it in a while. Gold futures, because I know we're all futures traders here. It is VWAP and previous VWAP multi-time frame. Now a friend of mine built me the same thing in Sierra chart. But it's just, again, TradingView is just a lot easier to use. But that's what you guys are seeing on the left side of my chart book, is you're seeing that multi-time frame chart. But let's look at gold. Gold's tricky. Comes back down toward yearly VWAP. They buy it up. Yearly VWAP, quarterly VWAP. Gold's been on such a rip. Let's look at something else that's got less. Let's look at Tesla. Oops. It's a stock. Look at all these times that Tesla came back down towards its yearly VWAP. It works for crypto. Let's look at Bitcoin. I trade all my crypto on Coinbase. So how do we know when we're buying low? You know that you're buying low when you're back down towards the yearly VWAP. If you're an intraday scalper, you know that you're buying low when you're back down towards the previous week's VWAP or previous month's VWAP. All right. Let's look at a meme coin here. This is SHIB. I do have a small position in SHIB, like $1,000. Where did I buy it at? I bought it right back down here at the bottom. Why? Because it's a meme coin, and Bitcoin, I think that the government's going to reprice Bitcoin, and I think that all these other coins are going to go along with it. Maybe not, obviously not to the extent of Bitcoin. I'm not saying that by any means, but this is how I look at whether or not something is high or low. Let's look at Hilton, because that's been whoops. Hilton has been in the news lately. Let's look at Hilton. Would you want to be a buyer of Hilton right now? No, probably not. It's super extended anyway. But let's look at it on a 15-minute chart. So this is a 15-minute chart, and these are monthly VWAPs. Monthly VWAP closes. Look at how many times, again on a 15-minute chart, this previous month's VWAP became support, support, support. You have the same thing over here. Now there is some crisscrossing, don't get me wrong. That's why I like to wait until you get a hard push down into one of these previous VWAPs, right? Again, if you're a bank or a hedge fund, you're always looking at like, when are we going to buy this? This is a quarterly VWAP right here. The only thing that I would tell you guys too is that you have to understand that when prices have fallen so much, that you have to expect there to be a bit of a battle that's going to take place, and that battle is accumulation and distribution. So the left chart that I'm looking at on Sierra chart is always this higher time frame VWAP chart. That's what I'm looking at. So let's go back now that I've kind of explained these higher time frame VWAPs. Let's go back to Sierra chart and we'll talk about the other charts. Close that. Okay. Can you guys see our chart now? So that is this chart right here. I drug it over a little bit so you guys can see it. So this higher time frame chart has all of these previous VWAPs on it. And if you're a Sierra chart user, here's something I need to tell you is that if you're a Sierra chart user and you're using these higher time frame VWAPs or longer range VWAPs, you have to make sure that you have enough days loaded. So when you go into your data limiting, I always make sure that I've got 365 days loaded. Now it takes a little while for this left chart to load up, but this is how I do it, right? Okay. So that's the kind of higher time frame chart. Just where are we at in outer space, right? Which is what this left chart is. Now that we're above all these VWAPs, I feel like this thing's going to go higher. The left chart, or I'm sorry, these two tick charts. The tick charts are showing us the activity on the equity side. So the top one is tracking the entire Nasdaq, which has, I don't know, like 3,500 stocks in it. And then the New York Stock Exchange, which has about the same amount. I mean, they fluctuate day to day. Some stocks drop off, but you're looking at a few thousand stocks, and it's just telling us whether or not those stocks are ticking up or ticking down in price. And generally, if your tick is above this zero line, that's a bullish indication. You can see how the S&P 500, it has spent the majority of the morning above the zero line. So it's a bullish indication. It's not, but it would be nice if it was. I know that some people have developed stuff like that. Again, dude, I got 4 kids. One of them's a 3-year-old. I don't have them weighted yet. If you guys know of somebody that has a weighted tick chart by company, then please share it. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that yet, right? I'm a weapons specialist. I'm not a coder. So anything that you see on my charts is because I've either messed around a lot with Claude and worked it out. But I hope you guys understand what Nee is saying is that there are certain companies within the Nasdaq, right, that carry more weight. But these are not currently weighted. So the idea though is that, again, if the companies, if the more of them are ticking up in the moment, like right now, what do you guys see? You see more of them are below the zero line, right? So that's telling you that there are selling programs that are kicking in, right? These are all like basket stocks. What's a basket stock? Well, you've got banks and hedge funds that carry, they have to fill their portfolio with something. So most of their portfolios, right, the stuff that the prospectuses that they market to us, they're always telling us, hey, give us your money and we'll invest it for you. Well, the core of all of their portfolios is always going to be in the SPX and SPY because they know that generally speaking, the market is going to go up, right? It has to go up because that's how they induce us into buying. Yeah, they are standard indicators. I can show you guys exactly where they're at. So anyway, that's the tick. So we've got some selling and what's happening on our price, right? It's selling off a little bit. So if you go into, I kind of want to, so this is interesting, right? So just real quick, I'm going to answer your question, Dave. But look at what we had right here. I'm going to show you guys the divergence. I didn't catch it because I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at TradingView, but I hope that you guys can see this. I'll make these lines a little bit thicker. Again, I apologize. You guys tell me if you don't want me on the widescreen, then I'll find something else. But I can't really demonstrate the entire system and how I trade without the widescreen. But you see this divergence here? So these are trapped buyers, right? Those trades came in, the aggressive trades came in, and they started to sell off. And there's a divergence between, if we were to break this down onto like a 1-minute chart, right? We've got a divergence. I'm going to change this to 1 minute on the right. I'm kind of starting to feel like I want to buy. Not because we're back to VWAP or anything like that, but because we're starting to get back to, we're starting to get a little bit of a confluence of indications here where I'm going to answer your question, Dave. I apologize. I'll pull it up for you, brother. But look at what's happening. We had this divergence, but now our volume delta is starting to get back down to RTH neutral. And our trades delta, now the only thing is that the trades delta is making new lows over here. So that tells me that there is quite a bit of selling. So I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait. Okay, let me answer Dave's question. But I just noticed this divergence, right? So you absolutely could have shorted that. Especially with the ticks kind of bumping their heads, right? And they're diverging as well. Okay, so let's find these studies. I'm gonna buy a micro, just cause. All right, so when you go into your studies, I just hit C, and then it's these three right here. Cumulative trades delta, or I'm sorry, cumulative volume delta, which in Sierra chart they call it cumulative delta bars volume. It's CVD, right? Cumulative volume delta. And then cumulative delta bars trades. I call this CDT, cumulative delta trades. That's the only thing I don't. Sierra chart has their own little proprietary naming system for this stuff. And then the up down tick volume. So these are the three. I know that you guys, if you've watched me on X, you've seen some of my posts where I have the little, I just call it the delta stream. That's where they're at. And then what I do to get them to play nicely with each other is when you set them, I know this is kind of a mess because but let's look at cumulative delta bars. So this one, I have this one set to chart region 2, and then the scale is just set to automatic. So I put the CVD on first, and then I just have it for this session, which is this middle delta chart. I have this set to restart at the beginning of the trading day, so that's 6 p.m., and then restart at both session times. So this is the one that I look at for RTH, right? And then you just go into your subparagraph. I like to set it as high-low bars. I've done lines before, whatever you like. I like to see the flow. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Now for the up-down tick, or the trades delta, I basically do the same thing. Scale is set to automatic, and I put it into chart region 2. They're both resetting at the start of the trading day and at session times, and then open, high, low, close bars. But those are the three that I use. And I don't currently have this one on here. We can add it, just see what it looks like. Let's change. I usually have this one set to white, but we'll do, yeah, I'll set it to white. It might be a little bright. So open, high, low, close bars. I just like how they look when you're zoomed out. They basically look like a line chart. But I think they're a little, whoops, I think they're a little more accurate. Chart region 2, scale. I'm going to do same as region for this one. And maybe it will. Okay, so there's the up down tick. That's it. This is basically the order flow stream. So, I mean, in a nutshell, like divergences and everything else aside, like, hold on, let me change this because it's gonna. If the stream's pointing down, you probably want to be going short, depending on where it's at, right? If the stream's pointing up, you probably want to be going long. You can keep it real simple like that. You don't have to. I'm gonna hide these. I like to just focus on the trades and the volume delta. Thought I might try a long, only because we're starting to get back down to this delta neutral. But I'm always too early. Yeah, you're welcome. Play around with it, right? I mean, it's the thing with Sierra chart. The chart books are so customizable that sometimes it's you get lost in them, right? This might end up going quite a bit lower, right? If we look at this divergence over here on the right side on the, that's a 1 minute chart. You can see that it's that there's quite a bit of selling, quite a bit of trade selling. Sloping off, trades making new lows. Again, I'm always just kind of looking at risk to reward. So this now is our cumulative trades delta low, and our CVD low is just below it. Might take a little bit of heat on this. We'll see. Let's see what happens when we get back to. So we're coming back down to RTH delta neutral. So all the people that were aggressive buying from the open that used market orders, they are almost completely liquidated. All right, Dave. Appreciate you, man. Hope you guys have a good day at work, all right? Wouldn't that be something if everybody at JP Morgan's watching me trade at some point? At least in the IT department, huh? Thanks, man. Have a good day. I like it that the tick's wanting to kind of make some higher highs. Both of them are making some higher highs. Of course, now we're getting a push down here, but Oh, I'm sorry, Nee. I got you confused, man. I apologize. We're hitting the previous month's VWAP over here on the left side. Does that mean that it's going to stick and you need to be buying it? No, remember what I said. I like to see hard pushes down in price at those areas. This is not, yeah, I mean, it's a hard push down in the sense that price has been coming down, but it's not like a multi-hour drop in price. So I forget that I can chat with you guys too on the actual chat itself. Okay, so we're hitting delta neutral. Let's see what happens here. Are the buyers going to come back in and buy? You guys notice that we got just above 5K and it started selling off. Remember what I was saying about that kind of normal distribution? I haven't exited this yet because again, it's $100 in risk. I'm not too worried about it. I kind of want to buy a couple, but I want to wait. I kind of really want to wait until I'm going to get rid of one of these here. It's the trades delta low. I kind of wanted to see the trades delta hitting this negative 1K, 2K level. I'm going to buy a couple. Again, I'm just looking at kind of risk to reward. I'm not going heavy, right? Not going heavy, but hoping to get a little bit of a bounce. See if we can work our way back into a profitable trade based on, this is just simply based on really the volume delta hitting RTH neutral. We're, technically still in an uptrend. Buyers have been in control all morning, at least the aggressive ones. We do have a selling divergence that caused this sell-off. But again, I'm not panicking, right? You would be panicking if you were on an eval account and you were uh, trading full-size contracts. That's what I love about micros. They just give you a ton of flexibility. Okay, so I did DCA there, right? And usually what I will do is once I'm kind of in profit, again, you guys, like I don't worry about my win rate or any of that stuff. I'm always just thinking, am I buying low and am I selling high? And so we tried to buy kind of right here at VWAP. It wasn't low enough and it kept going lower. But now you can see my theoretical average here, right? Now that I'm in profit, I'll sell one. So that technically is a loss, right? And then I might go ahead and sell this other one. So now you see how my theoretical average dropped down, right? Now I'm in a much better position to give this thing some room to breathe. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but our daily P&L now, right, is at $311. Bang. Again, I'm taking it easy. I told you guys that we were going to go through, we're going to take a 300K account from 0 to hero, right? From zero to payout. And I'm not going to rush it, right? Yeah, there's a $7,500 drawdown and there's a $20,000 profit target. But that doesn't mean that we start trading it any differently, all right? If you look at, and I know that you guys can't see this, right? But you basically have on a 300K Apex account, you basically have $7,500 drawdown, right? Before you blow the account. If you are risking 1% per trade, that's $75. 2% per trade is $150. That's where you need to be at, right? If you're, and again, I don't know where everybody's at, right? I don't know if everybody's getting like there's 9 people that are listening to me right now in the sound of my voice, right? You could all 9 be getting massive payouts and doing better than me. And if you are, that's awesome. But if you're not, then yeah, it is. I agree. Well, this is how I do it, right? Just trade the micros. Don't worry about the profit target, right? That's why they set the profit target so high. Now, I told you guys before that I do think that the 50K account, if, it does have the best kind of, drawdown versus profit target. Hey, Charles. Appreciate you being on, man. It does have the kind of the easiest profit target to draw down. However, if you're, again, kind of a new trader, brand new trader, and you really need 2 things, right? You need software and a data feed. And it's like, okay, you don't have enough money to fund a personal account. It's like, all right, well, how do you get there? Well, pick up like a 300K account, get the data feed, trade sim, and then when you're ready to go live, then you got a $7,500 drawdown. And, if you catch it on special, then you're not paying, $300 a month for a 300K account. Only buy these accounts when they're on special, right? But that $7,500 drawdown when you're trading micros gives you a ton of space. And you don't feel like you're being chased by that trailing drawdown. Well, it depends. I guess it just depends on how. If I'm doing it the way that I should do it, it's going to take me probably, I'd say 2 weeks. I'm having to I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like trying to explain stuff and trade at the same time. Those are 2 opposing efforts, right? Like I'm not as locked in when I'm trying to show you guys what I'm talking about or what I'm thinking versus just trading it, right? But at the same time, I think I want this to be just a conversation, right? Conversation between traders. I'm here to help you guys, show you guys some different things, and teach you how I read order flow and market internals. So we can have a conversation and keep it light. I'm trading my personal account as well on the side. And, I may not make a ton in my personal account. Like all my other posts and stuff that I've made, there's been some days where I made, a lot of money. But it's not about the money, right? It's about understanding the markets and finding something that you can repeat. My trading system is not the most repeatable system, and it's because it is like hyper flexible, right? I'm looking at a lot of different things and developing what I think is like a real understanding of what's going on in the market. And it's not just, well, this candlestick broke this candlestick's high, and so I'm going to buy and I'm going to put a stop below that candlestick. It's not like that at all. Look at that. You are amazing. Thank you. My wife just brought me an iced tea. She's a southern gal, so I'm very blessed. She takes good care of me. All right. Why did we buy that? Again, if you're looking at if you're just looking at this fixed range volume profile of this area, there's not like a super clear level that would indicate to buy it right there. If you bought VWAP, you probably got stopped out. You're questioning yourself right now. You know, especially again if you're trading full-size contracts, probably took some heat on that. But because we were in a micro, wasn't a big deal, right? Wasn't a big deal. And we just bought it where RTH CVD delta neutral. No big deal. So let's see if the buyers really step in right here. Is it? I've not taken his scalping course. I saw that he was selling it on his site. But I like Merit, but at the same time, like he he surprises me with some of his posts. And this is kind of why I'm moving away. I'll be honest, I'm moving away from X and trying to go more streaming on YouTube. Because no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Just because I trade my own money and you know, I like to trade Apex, so I don't feel pressured to try to join anybody's firm or group. Um, I like Barrett, but at the same time, some of the stuff he says feels kind of like I'm talking to a high schooler, and you know, I'm 48, retired Army guy. My high school days are long behind me, so I like to have fun and keep things low key, and nobody should be stressing out. But at the same time, like I'm not going to be on X making fun of people and making jokes and things like that. At least not a whole lot of that. So Nasdaq put in a high, however, not a new high on the day. So there's still quite a bit of selling on the equity side. But it looks like maybe the ES is trying to. Now, if this thing we get another little rotation up, I might see how our trades deltas too is starting to make new highs. So they're definitely starting to buy it again. I might add a micro and take my theoretical average up to right here, this yellow line. So basically, I don't know how many that would let me buy, but I'm always trying to add into winners. I will DCA, but I do think that the edge is really exploiting your winners. So we'll see what it does here. Can you guys see the P&L? Okay. Or is it because it's a widescreen you can't see it? You can't see it? Okay. Maybe, let's see if I put a study on here real quick. See you, G, or J, GJ. Hey man, it means a lot that you're here. Thank you, brother. Yeah, so the green box is just, that's the positions. So I think I might have to, because I really want to stick with the widescreen. It helps me a ton, because back in November, December, I was just looking at this right side chart, and I was, it's difficult trying to stream off of one tiny chart. Yeah, yeah. Well, we're in the profit on this one. Let me see if I can just put a study up here real quick to show the account P&L. It's been a while since I've done this, so scroll through the studies here. Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking that trying to be as open as possible about where this 300K account is at. So we're getting a little pop. Text for study. I'll have to play around with this. All right. So it's almost 11:30. I've already been on here longer than I intended to be. So I hear my kids getting restless next door. I'm gonna close this trade out, even though it's a winner. Boom. Okay. So the daily P&L for today, $355. I might come back this afternoon after Trump speaks, and see, see what's in play. But I think for now it's good. We're almost at 3K profit for the account. Again, 20K seems like it's a long ways off, but it's not, right? We'll get there. I've done these 300K accounts a few times, and again, I enjoy trading them. And I will be back on. Hold on, let me pull up the calendar real quick. Something that I've not talked to you guys about, but I'll address it. Every day, right, I look at the Forex Factory economic calendar, and you guys absolutely should be too. So let me see what's going on tomorrow. Okay, so we have non-farm employment change at 8:15 and PMI and JOLTS at 10. So tomorrow there's a few catalysts, right? So it should be good day. Good day. Nothing too crazy, I would imagine. So we'll see what Trump has to say at 2, but for now I'm gonna go hang with the family. And again, I appreciate you guys being here this morning. There will be some days where I feel like staying on all day, but I mentioned to you guys earlier with him speaking at 2 o'clock, I was already like kind of dreading sitting there because I mean we've really had good price action this morning, right? It feels good, but I really don't want to sit here for the next, 2.5 hours waiting for him to come on before it really does something extraordinary. So you guys just play it safe, right? And don't get chopped up. Price tends to get choppier the closer and closer you get to these events. You guys are smart. You guys understand it. And yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow morning. Probably, I don't know, maybe a little bit earlier tomorrow because there's news at 8:15. But yeah, all right. God bless you guys. Again, I appreciate you all being here. It means a lot, right? Like, not only is trading lonely, but also being a vet can be lonely at times too. God's put some wonderful people around me, and I'm grateful for that. And I include all of you guys in that too. So you guys have a great day. Take it easy, and I'll see you guys later on. Bye-bye.